let's talk about something absolutely fundamental to what makes you, well, your memory. And I'm not just talking about remembering where you parked your car. I'm talking about memory as the architect of your entire identity. And today we're going to look at it through a lens that is quickly moving from science fiction to actual scientific fact. The idea of perfect digital recall. Think about it, an unblinking, unyielding record of your whole life. If you can, wherever you are, just for a second, I want you to close your eyes. Just shut out the world and turn inward.
Okay, now, I want you to reach back into that vast library in your mind and just pull one out. It doesn't have to be some life-changing event. Maybe it's that specific feeling of the sun on your skin on a summer day when you were a kid, the smell of the grass, the sound of insects buzzing. Or maybe it's a moment of just pure, unfiltered joy. That feeling when you finally understood something complicated, or the taste of an amazing meal. It could even be a tough one, a moment of failure or loss that really carved itself into who you are today. Just hold that memory. Feel its edges, its emotional color, all the little sounds and sensations that are still attached to it.
Now, here's the twist. Imagine that memory you just recalled, that fuzzy, kind of edited, slightly blurry version, wasn't the only copy. Imagine the original recording, captured in perfect high definition the second it happened, could be saved, just stored away in some digital vault, ready for you to access whenever you want with absolute crystal clarity, forever. Every word, every tiny facial expression, every flicker of emotion, exactly as it was, with no fading over time.
And that brings us right to the heart of it, doesn't it? If forgetting, this messy, sometimes frustrating, but deeply human thing we all do, suddenly became a switch you could just flip on or off, what would happen to us? Would having this perfect, flawless past make you a more complete, more authentic version of yourself? Or, in getting rid of the so-called flaws of memory, would you accidentally erase the very thing that makes you human?
To even start to get at that question, we have to appreciate the beautiful, chaotic, and incredibly creative way our memory works right now. This isn't about data storage, it's really about the art of misremembering. You see, our natural memory is anything but a perfect recording device. For starters, it's totally incomplete. Your brain is constantly deciding what's important enough to keep and what to just toss out. It's also notoriously prone to error. I mean, we all confidently remember things that just never happened. And sometimes, our minds even deliberately distort memories, maybe sanding down the sharp edges of a trauma or putting a little extra shine on a moment to make it fit the story we tell ourselves. Over time, memories fade, their emotional power lessens, details get jumbled. But here's the thing, these aren't just bugs in the system. These so-called flaws are actually the key features that make memory a living, breathing process that serves us now, not just in the past.
There was this French philosopher, Henri Bergson, who absolutely nailed this idea. He argued that memory isn't like some dusty old archive where you go to pull up a file. No, for him, it's a dynamic and creative force. Every single time you remember something, you are, in a way, recreating it. You're constantly reaching back into your past, not just to get information, but to reinterpret it, to find new wisdom in old mistakes, to find new meaning in old joys, all to help you deal with what's happening in your life right now. Our past is in a constant conversation with our present.
So, what happens when we hand that deeply personal, creative process over to a machine? What happens when our past becomes this fixed, unchangeable log of data, instead of a story we learn from and reshape? If an algorithm becomes the final, objective judge of who we were, does that take away our power to decide who we are right now and who we're trying to become? And look, this isn't just some philosophy class thought experiment anymore. Technology is marching forward, and it's turning the promise, or maybe the threat, of perfect recall into a very real possibility.
The timeline is pretty stunning when you lay it all out. It kind of starts with Theodore Berger's work, which proved you could treat memory like data and copy it between lab rats. Then you see things ramp up with DARPA, which took it from theory to practice by actually enhancing memory in humans. This in turn inspired these huge goals, like the Autonomy Project, which wants to build a digital copy of your entire personality. And underneath it all is the hardware, the brain-computer interfaces from companies like Neuralink, which could be the highway all this data travels on.
37%. Just let that number sink in for a second. In 2018, a project funded by DARPA, the military's advanced research group, managed to improve short-term memory scores in people by that much. They worked with epilepsy patients who already had implants in their brains. So they used those implants to record brain activity during memory tests, figured out the patterns for successful memories, and then zapped the brain with electricity to boost those exact patterns. It was this incredible proof that, yes, we can externally mess with and improve our memory in real time. But this idea that memory is basically just data gets even weirder when you look at what Theodore Berger was doing at USC. His team taught a rat to do a task, like press a lever for a treat, and recorded the brain signals while it learned. Then, they got a second rat, one that had never learned the task, and played that recording directly into its brain. And guess what? The second rat could do the complex task without ever being taught. Think about what that means. A memory is basically a piece of code. And if it's code, it can be recorded, copied, and transferred. And that concept of memory as data is exactly what makes projects like Eternamine possible. This is an initiative that wants to create what it calls a digital immortal, an AI avatar of you. The idea is to scrape every bit of your digital life, your social media, your emails, your photos, your location data, and use it to build a program that thinks like you, talks like you, and holds all your memories. Basically, a version of you that could live on after you die. A literal digital ghost. But you have to ask, right? Is that avatar really you, with your actual consciousness? Or is it just a really, really good echo? A perfect copy with nobody home?
So you can see the step-by-step plan taking shape here. Step 1, prove you can record memory as data. Berger's rats, check. Step 2, show you can transfer that data into a new host. Check. Step 3, learn how to manipulate and boost that process in a living human brain. DARPA, check. And the final, massive leap, the holy grail of all this, is what companies like Neuralink are chasing. A high-speed, two-way connection to the brain that could, in theory, let you copy, store, and even upload your entire mind.
But as this technology gets more and more powerful, we have to stop and listen to this really profound counter-argument. An argument not for perfecting our memory, but for the freedom that comes with forgetting, and the absolute necessity of letting things go. Sure, a perfect memory system might save you from forgetting your password, but it would also steal one of nature's most important ways of healing. You know how time dulls the sharpest edges of grief? That's forgetting. Forgetting allows the wounds from trauma to scar over, to become a part of your story instead of an open wound in your present. It's the very thing that lets us move on from our worst moments.
You know, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche was all over this. He believed that having too much memory, being obsessed with the past, actually paralyzes us. He said a creature that can't forget is like a person who can never ever fall asleep. To truly live, to act with energy and creativity in the now, he argued, we have to be able to forget. We have to be able to wipe the slate clean sometimes and let go of the crushing weight of everything that's happened before.
This really sets up two completely different ways of being. On the one hand, with perfect digital memory, you become the flawless, perfect archivist of your own past. But in doing that, you're also chained to every mistake, every regret, every single hurtful word, forced to relive them in perfect detail forever. You become a prisoner of your own life. On the other hand, with our flawed human memory, we get to be the authors of our present. We're rooted in what is, not just what was. We're active participants, always evolving, not just passive viewers of some permanent, unchangeable record. And Eastern philosophy takes this idea of freedom even further. In Zen Buddhist thinking, the self isn't some fixed thing you can archive. It's more like a river, constantly flowing. From that point of view, memory is a kind of attachment, clinging to a past version of yourself that doesn't even exist anymore. To obsess over a perfect stream of memories is to build a kind of identity prison, locking yourself into who you used to be. Real freedom, they would say, doesn't come from remembering everything, but from letting everything go, so you can be fully present in the only moment that's actually real, right now.
It's really no surprise that long before any of this tech was real, our art and our stories were already wrestling with these exact same fears. They've been like a powerful mirror, reflecting back our deepest anxieties about memory, identity, and the ghost in the machine.
Just think about a movie like The Manchurian Candidate. The terror at the heart of that story isn't just about changing someone's identity. It's about using memory manipulation, implanting fake memories, creating triggers as a weapon to completely hijack someone's free will. It asks, if your past can be totally rewritten, are your actions in the present even your own anymore? The line between your own choices and someone else's programming gets terrifyingly thin. Or what about the beautiful, heartbreaking lesson in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? You've got two people who are so destroyed by their breakup that they decide to surgically erase all their memories of each other. But as the procedure happens, they realize that those memories, even the ugly, painful, bitter ones, were the very foundation of their love, their growth, everything. They learn that a sanitized past, a life without any pain, is also a life without any of the depth and meaning that makes us who we are. They end up fighting to keep the very memories they paid to get rid of. And art also shows us the pure poetry of our imperfect memory. In Proust's great novel, the most powerful memories don't come from a keyword search. They ambush him. The simple taste of a little cake dipped in tea suddenly unlocks this massive flood of rich, complex, long-forgotten childhood feelings. It's a whole experience, sensory, emotional, deeply personal. It's magic, not data retrieval. A perfect digital memory would never be able to surprise you like that.
The Japanese have this aesthetic concept called mono no aware, which captures a similar idea. It's this gentle sadness, an awareness that everything is temporary. The incredible beauty of a cherry blossom is beautiful precisely because it's going to fall soon. A moment is precious because it's fleeting, because it will fade into a soft, imperfect, treasured memory. You have to wonder, if we could perfectly preserve every sunset, every fleeting moment, would we strip away the very fragility that makes them so beautiful in the first place?
All of this, the technology, the philosophy, the cautionary tales from art, it all funnels down into a handful of really sharp, unavoidable questions about the future of what it means to be human.
Okay, let's start with this one. If every little slight, every mistake, every single hurtful word spoken to you or by you is saved in perfect, undeniable detail, how do we ever forgive anyone? Forgiveness, for other people and for ourselves, so often depends on time softening the blow, on the details getting a little blurry. How can a relationship or even a whole society move forward when the list of past mistakes can be replayed forever with perfect accuracy? And what about our own agency? If our memories are stored, managed, and maybe even fed to us by some external system, some machine, does that completely change our relationship to our own lives? Are you still the main character in your own story? Or do you become just the object of some technological process, having your own past served up to you by an algorithm? We chase after this tech with this idea that it'll make us more whole, more complete. But we have to seriously ask the opposite. Would the burden of remembering everything, every failure, every embarrassment, every awkward moment, every single agonizing loss, just become a soul-crushing weight? Would we become like that character in the Borges story, so overwhelmed by the sheer data of the past that we lose the ability to think, to dream, to really live in the present? Which all leads to this final, really provocative thought. What if this thing we think of as a biological flaw, our ability to forget, isn't a flaw at all? What if it's the last, most important line of defense for our humanity? The very thing that allows us to grow, to reinvent ourselves, to forgive, and to be free from the tyranny of our own past.
Look, existential philosophers like Sartre would have a field day with this. Their warning is clear. To be human is to be constantly becoming something new. We aren't fixed things, but a perfect, total memory risks creating a frozen identity. It could trap you in the person you were yesterday, using the infallible data of your past to stop you from having the freedom to become the person you want to be tomorrow.
But as a counterpoint, Eastern philosophy offers a completely different way to look at it. It suggests that the true self isn't found by perfectly archiving the past, but by cultivating a deep awareness of the present moment. That who you really are is not the sum of your memories, but the quality of your attention, your consciousness, right here, right now.
So we're left with this one final haunting question. As we race to build a world where our memories can be immortal, where they can live forever on a chip, perfect and untouched by time, we have to ask ourselves, in outsourcing our past, our stories, our creative act of remembering, what if the memories don't die, but the essential, evolving, forgetting, and flawed human being at the center of them does? What if we do?